Welcome back to the channel, guys. Firstly, apologise for any wind that might affect the audio. It is blowing an absolute hoolie here in the northwest of England. But let's take it away. Today's episode, we are flooring a mid-wheelbase 2019 Mercedes Sprinter. Now, I am going to be openly honest with you guys. This is not my strongest suit. So I'm a plumber by trade, been doing it 20 years. I can do a bathroom suite start to finish, including all of the joinery, even joist work if I need to, plastering, tiling, absolutely everything. If they say they want a vinyl floor, I say you need to phone a guy. So this is the only thing as part of my all the years of experience on sites and in people's houses that I haven't done. I have, however, done this before on the big black one, and it was okay. I learned, just like you're learning now, hopefully, learned how to do it via YouTube videos, found the right products, and it looks absolutely amazing. So today, with a bit more confidence than last time, I am going to show you, if I can keep hold of the camera, I'm going to show you how to do it. So I ordered the flooring. I ordered 4 meters off of a roll, which is 2 meters wide. So your van is about 1800 wide. That's absolutely fine by literally the length of the van. I then also got the F44, which is a contact adhesive. I've used this before. We apply it to the floor, apply it to the back of the roll. We wait, which is excruciating, and then we whack the two surfaces together, and it never moves. And believe me, it does not move. So if you're joining me here for the first time, you won't know, but I've got a step that covers up the factory chassis behind there. So I'll remove this step. My flooring will sail under. As long as I clear this, it's absolutely fine, but my OCD will still want that to be close behind there. Just because you don't see it doesn't mean you're okay to just chew it off. So this will come out, and I will cover that totally separate. Factory floor, which I've used, I've took this up, put some ply strips down and refixed it. It does come with the few harness points. What I've done here is I've cut a couple of pieces of hardboard because it's split over 2 levels. What I mean is, best way to explain would be this, for example. So I drilled 1 hole, stuck a piece in there, drilled a second piece, stuck it in there. Now, what I'll say about that is there are only 2 in my layout that are not covered up by furniture or a bed or something like that. There's only 2 that you could potentially stand on, let's say, and they are right at the front. That's why I've covered them up. Now, I've used hardboard, which isn't exactly structural, but it was the correct thickness for me. It would require now a hell of a lot of pressure over one, even a stiletto shoe right on the center. I think it's going to be absolutely fine. So these are the only 2 that could potentially get stood on, and they are now been covered up. By the time the flooring goes over there, I am 100% happy that they will be fine. That one there is, as you can see the line on the floor, that's behind or underneath my rib bed. That is tucked in behind the arch, which will probably have some kind of furniture around it. These 2 I'm not worried about necessarily. I'll probably do the same again, but these can't even be stood on because this is the garage, and there will be a drawer unit coming out through there. So I'm absolutely fine with that. All I'm going to do now is clear the floor out as much as I can, sweep it, scrape it, just in case there's any high pieces of glue or anything like that, or pieces of foam that are stuck to the floor, because what I don't want is to lay the floor down and then there be like raised areas. Not a floor layer, by the way, not even a little bit of a floor layer. So there might be floor layers out there that will say you don't need to do that, you just need to lay it in there and then you can cut round there like that. This isn't my skill, this isn't my forte whatsoever. Maybe you're watching this because it's not yours. I'm just a guy doing things on his driveway. This isn't my trade. I couldn't remember how I made such a good job of it last time, and then it hit me. I replaced the floor on the last van So I had the old cargo floor, and I basically rolled the vinyl out, put the floor on top, drew around it, cut it, and it was already made, ready to go. Just, you know, connect the dots. Haven't got the luxury of that this time. So I've been racking my brains how to make sure I can lay it in there, cut round the arch without cutting too much off. And that's what scares me the most, I suppose. You can't really add to this. It's not wood, it's not a tile. You know, if you make a miscut, you may have ruined the whole roll, which is absolutely devastating. So, a good way to get over it, if you've got any old junk ply, is make yourself a template, like I have. Took me 10 minutes. I'm only worried about the wheel arch and that little pillar there. I can do the rest off of a tape measure. We need to make sure that that furthest side is correct, and then basically go from there. So here's my little template, guys. It's not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, and it doesn't need to be, because what I'll do, even though this is my template, I will still overcut the vinyl probably by 10 mil. I mean, across there it's absolutely lovely, because you can do the final trimming in place like the professionals do. You know, you can put your knife in the corner and wrap around like that, but that section of the wheel arch needs to be out, because if that was just one piece and it flapped over there, I wouldn't even know where to begin trying to cut that out without cutting out too much. So this just gives me a guide to know that I need to cut a square out there and a section out here, and that will allow me to then do final trimmings in place. So yes, this is a decent template, but I am still going to oversize the vinyl and take care of the rest in place. Now what I might do is actually use the cargo floor as my cutting edge, because there's like a 5 mil gap right the way around. By the time I've sound deadened and insulated that, it'll actually all be gone. And like I said before, you don't see any abutment apart from that one up there. Now then, I want to do a nice job of it all, of course I do. That's just natural. But the most important part, I would say, is this edge here as you first open the sliding door, so usually where your passenger seats go. Now the reason for that is it's probably the one section of the van that is straight, because as you go further back the van, it actually slightly tapers in. But also, in my scenario, and pretty much most vans scenario, it's the only bit where you see where the floor meets the wall. It literally is in this van. Everything else has got a unit on it, a bed on it, or a piece of furniture covering it. That section there, literally, probably actually only about 800 mil, that is the only section where you'll see the abutment of floor meets wall. So what I'm going to do now, first things first, because it's oversized, I've ordered 4 meters and I've just measured, and I need 350. It's oversized to give me enough to do my step, because it's the natural thing to do is order a little bit more. I'm going to cut it roughly to length. It's still going to be 50 mil too long, which is going to sail out the back of the van to begin with. Cut it to length because the less you're fighting with, the easier it is. Put the other bit in the garage ready to do the step in a minute. So yeah, I'm getting it cut to length, 50 mil, more than it needs to be. Let's go. I'm going to roll it back up now, and just thinking a couple of steps ahead. I think I need the pattern to be on the inside of the roll so that I can roll it out with the correct side up rather than rolling it inwards like that, because that might be quite awkward. I want to naturally roll it out, so the pattern needs to be inside the roll. You'll see. absolutely soaking wet, guys. A couple of minutes of rain and it's I'll get the worst of this up before I slip. Now, if I'm walking like a bit of a Egyptian, I've kind of pulled my back, so just bear with me on that front. As promised, the vinyl is oversized, but that's good because you can always cut more off. You can't add it on. I'm just going to spend a couple of minutes now taking that 10mm that I mentioned off, because lo and behold it's 10mm short, but that's good because it gets to close up the gaps in situ then, and that'd be nice. So basically I'm going to ping a line across this wheel arch and whip that 10mm off, and then just toy with cutting piece by piece, making it fit nice. So guys, first things first, this is where we're at. This is cut so it fits in, but it's still a tiny bit bigger than my original cargo floor. Look at the margin there, it covers that margin. Now I'm going to leave it like that because when we lay this down with glue, believe it or not, it can slip a little bit. With that being excessive over there, I know I've got slight tolerances, because what I want to do eventually is run the blade along that cargo floor and basically mirror it. I'm happy to have this gap here, like I've said before, because I'm going to cover this area. This is going to be covered. There is no part where that gap where the cargo floor would be wouldn't be covered. So, for example, my board is going to sail down into that gap, and then my close sew insulation and faux tweed will actually hide this. It's a bit like tiling a bathroom. You do the floor first and then you do the bottom course, because when this bottom course comes down it actually hides that gap. So I'm happy with that. Just going to trim this up, but if it fits, all of the excessives, all of the excess, that can be trimmed off afterwards. And because it's the only way I know how, what I'm going to do now is measure the distance between the two arches and then reuse my template, flip it over. I'll double check that it's the same, but it should be exactly the same. Flip that template over and go again with that, because that's the only way I know how, guys. So my template is an absolute winner. What I'm going to do is the actual width of the roll, I am still going to oversize that. Just in case when it gets up to the door, it's not wide enough. Right, went inside and measured the width of the van as well, because I'm going to cut off, obviously this comes in a 2 meter roll and the van is about 1.8. I'm going to cut that line off as well to get rid of the excess. Measure twice, cut once. Just because you've pinged the line don't mean it's right. So I've measured that, and I know because of that one edge that I keep telling you about, that datum edge, measure from there to the doorway, that's 1780. My line is at 1.8. That will leave enough overhang for me to just run a blade off afterwards. Job done. Now then, our floor is cut. It will fit in place. It's going to want some fine tuning once it's in, but it will sit there without causing any creases or kinks or lift ups and things like that. I'm using a contact adhesive. It's F44. Get it from any good vinyl or floor laying shop. I'm going to apply mine with a foam roller, a little 4-inch. Don't even need a tray. Just going to dunk it straight in the can, and off we go. Nice thin layer. As long as everything's covered, it'll be okay. You apply this to both surfaces. It's contact adhesive, so you wait until it goes tacky on both surfaces, and then you put them together. The waiting bit is excruciating, believe me, and I feel like it's going to rain at any point, so really panicking here. What I've done is I've folded it over on itself more than 50%. there's basically like 1.1 there, so it leaves about 700 left over. I'm going to glue 1 meter of the van across its length, and then I'm going to glue that side that's exposed. And then what that will allow me to do is lift it up, lift it in, get half of it stuck down, and then I can peel back the other half and then glue both surfaces again. If you don't do more than half, because I had this before, the vinyl wants to fold over too soon and you're trying to prop it up and things like that. So if you do over 50% first, so do like 60-40 or even 70-30, it's enough that you can actually fold the vinyl over while the second lot is going off, because it's almost done in 2 stages. With the adhesive applied to the vinyl, it's now a bit of a waiting game. You want to wait until it becomes a bit clearer. Literally, it becomes clearer, and it becomes tacky as opposed to wet. Now, hopefully you can see it's nice and even. It's almost see-through. That's what you want, just a nice thin coating. It's almost see-through. You don't want any lumps. You don't want any gloopiness. That will be absolutely wicked. That's why I think a roller is best. And then I will apply that to that, and we'll be good to go. I just hope it doesn't start raining first. Hopefully you can make it out, guys. See how it's beginning to totally disappear? That now is tacky to touch. Not wet anymore, it's tacky. So I did my little step over there at the same time, so that's really sticky now, so that's a bit of a tester. So I'm going to lift it in now. Chances are I am going to get covered in glue. You would probably be better off gluing both sections in the van and folding it over, but you end up fighting with it so much. I did that last time and it's a nightmare, so I am going to lift it in. I'm going to get covered in glue, might take the t-shirt off. Right, you saw me wrestling there. Pick a spot that you knew was in a certain position. Like I knew that the corner up there was cut like within a millimetre perfect. So that's what I aim to do. I was grabbing it almost like you're making a really heavy bed, just trying to peel it up. Obviously I'm on my own, 2 people, this would be a lot easier. I know now that that half is exactly where I want it to be. Now because we put such a thin coat, I am going to use one of those rollers just to iron out the creases, but it should be absolutely fine because it's so thin. It's just basically 2 flat surfaces touching each other, so probably walking around on it is going to do it the best job. Hey, and now we peel that back. Not peel it back, but peel it over the half that isn't done. Do exactly the same again. Apply F44 to the floor, apply it to the roll, good to go. It's always going to be easier to clean anything up while it's still wet / tacky. So while you're waiting for the second half to dry off, I noticed when I lugged in that first half, because I was on my own, the underside, hit a couple of bits of trim and things like that. So I'm going to go around now while I've got a minute and just make sure everything's cleaned up. I'm not worried about all of the excess glue on the wheel arch because that will be covered up. I know what pieces are important and what pieces aren't. So I'm just going to go around with basically a trade wipe and give everything a bit of a clean up. So that's it. It's sticking down now. Looks absolutely cracking. Absolutely lovely. Love it. Some things are just, you know, that's lovely and tight. Even though I've got a board that goes across there with a step. Like I've said, that's the only important part. I'm going to admit to you, a couple of mil short there. But I've got a kitchen pod that's going to sit there. I needn't have ever even tweeded that really. It'll be covered up with a kitchen pod. So win your battles, pick your battles. It's by no means hashed in. Like I said before, my panel's going to run down there. That's going to make a beautiful little abutment. So the floor's down, trimmed off all of the edges. Now, the step that you just see me trim off, that'll have some kind of cover over that because obviously you'll see the cross section of the vinyl and you always try to avoid that. So that'll have like a bit of angle planted on there. You can, with a Stanley knife, end up digging into the material and end up not being perfectly flush. So for these two sections here, basically I've got a riser and a tread basically. They're both going to be covered with the vinyl. I've already stuck them, but they need to be cut flush and I want them to be lovely, no little nicks, because obviously the cross section of the vinyl is actually white and you'll see if I nick it. Don't want to be covering up joints with sealant necessarily, so I'm going to use a router for that edge because I know that I'll be cut that perfectly flush. Don't need to use it anywhere else in the van, but if you're doing something like a step and you want it to be perfectly flush, use a trimming tool on a router. So guys, it's been a bit of a long day. The driveway, lovely and clean. The wife needn't know anything. I laid that tarp down just so that it didn't attract loads of stones and things like that, and I didn't want to scratch it when I was flipping it round. If I did cut through the tarp, I don't care. That is basically what it is. It's one big dust sheet. I'm never going to use it for the waterproofing. Anyway, it's finished. It looks absolutely lovely. Probably can't pick out the colour from where you are, but it's not the usual flex that look like the hospital flooring. No offence to anyone that's got that. Wanted something different. You guessed it. The guy over at the 8 found this and I said, please let me have a sample. Here it is, comes in loads of different colours, absolutely lovely. I've got the step in. Unfortunately, don't call me names, I'm going to finish that off with some T-trim, just knock that on because there's no way you can get like a curved aluminium trim, but it'll be subtle, it'll be absolutely lovely. It's finished. Absolutely chuffed with it. So I probably went through 4 or 5 Stanley blades. F44 is the adhesive and a roller. Just take your time. preferably don't do it in the driveway when there's always a chance of rain, because I was just sat there praying that it didn't rain. And now I'm just going to leave it. I'm going to leave it to adhere overnight. I'm absolutely chuffed to nuts with it. Please do subscribe. I'm trying to bring you information from my driveway that might help the likes of you and I, for driveway builders, solo van builders, not necessarily professionals, but we're giving it a good go. I think it looks absolutely pucker. So do subscribe for more. I'm trying to bring one a week now. I'm trying my hardest while I'm building this badass adventure wagon. Thank you very much, and I will see you next Tuesday.